I opened the apartment door and the silence hit me first, soft and almost unbearable, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. The faint scent of his cologne lingered, curling around the worn furniture, wrapping the room in a memory I could almost touch. The scarf he left on the couch, the folded newspaper on the table, and the cup he always left half full, all whispered the same thing. Ethan was gone. My husband, my anchor, the man whose presence had always been the calm in my storm, had vanished without warning. The emptiness was a physical weight pressing against my chest, and I sank onto the couch, clutching his scarf as if it could pull him back to me. Weeks of searching, of sleepless nights spent imagining what could have happened, of wondering whether he was safe, had led me here, and still there was no answer. Every corner of the apartment, every faint creak of the floorboards, and every shadow felt like a silent question, demanding an explanation I did not yet have. And yet, even in that crushing silence, I refused to let despair take me entirely. I whispered his name softly, almost pleading, as if it could bridge the distance between us. Ethan, come back to me. Before I continue, I want you to pause with me for just a moment. Imagine the depth of love that makes the absence of one person feel like losing a part of yourself. Hold that feeling. Stay with me through this story. Let your heart feel the fear, the hope, the small triumphs, and the quiet pain. And if this story touches your soul in any way, please support us. Share it, subscribe to the channel, and let others experience this journey of love, trust, and courage. Also, I would love to hear from you. Which country are you watching from? Leave your thoughts and feelings in the comments. It means the world to hear your perspective. Before the disappearance, our life had its quiet rhythm. Moving into a modest apartment had been our choice, a deliberate step away from the grandeur and pressure of Ethan's former world. The mornings were simple, almost sacred in their ordinariness. The curl of steam from his coffee, the faint crunch of toast in the toaster, sunlight spilling lazily across the floor. All of it combined to create a sense of calm I had taken for granted. Even the smallest gestures, his hand brushing mine when passing a plate, the gentle smile he gave over breakfast, the warm tone of his voice, were threads weaving a tapestry of comfort I had never fully appreciated. Evenings were quiet sanctuaries, meals shared with soft conversation, laughter that floated between us like a melody, or sometimes a comfortable silence gave a rhythm to our lives that wealth or status could never provide. Folding laundry became a small ritual of intimacy. He hummed a gentle tune as he worked, and I watched, letting the melody wrap around us like a protective cocoon. Each ordinary moment carried an extraordinary weight because it was ours, because it was real, and because it was fleeting. But beneath the calm, subtle changes began to take shape. A missed call, an unread message, the slight avoidance in his eyes, small, almost imperceptible signs that something was shifting. And then I found it. A folded note in his familiar handwriting, tucked inside a book he often read. I must disappear for now, protect her. My chest constricted and my thoughts spun. Protect me? From what? Why couldn't he tell me directly? The questions multiplied, gnawing at the edges of my mind and refusing to let me rest. Even trying to speak to him brought only partial reassurance. It's better this way, he said softly, his calm tone belying the tremor in his hands. I began noticing details I had ignored before, the shadow of a stranger lingering too long at the corner, the hum of a car that seemed parked purposefully, and a pair of eyes that appeared in unexpected places. Fear crept in, low and constant, wrapping itself around every moment. Yet through it all, my love for him anchored me, refusing to let panic completely overtake reason. The truth, when it arrived, was heavy and devastating. Hidden among his documents were emails, records, and notes exposing betrayal. Michael Carter, Ethan's closest advisor, had been orchestrating a takeover, manipulating employees, siphoning funds, and threatening everything he had built. My heart ached with shock and disbelief, and when Ethan finally explained, his voice low and trembling, I understood the depth of sacrifice he had borne alone. "I couldn't tell you," he said. "Not yet. They would have hurt you." Relief mingled with anger and heartbreak. He had protected me, yes, but leaving me in uncertainty had been a torment of its own. I held him close, feeling the tremor beneath his composed exterior. "I don't care about danger," I whispered. "I care about you, always." His grip on my hand tightened, grounding me, reminding me that love could endure the heaviest burdens. We had to act, yet every step was careful and deliberate. Nights became planning sessions, papers spread across the table, whispered conversations held in the dark. Every detail mattered. Each decision weighed with precision. And through it all, love became our foundation. Each touch, each glance, each quiet reassurance reminded us that survival was not merely avoiding harm. It was safeguarding what truly mattered: our bond, our trust, and the life we were determined to protect. The city outside continued, unaware of our struggle. Shadows lingered, strangers watched, and every intercepted message suggested that eyes followed our every move. Fear was constant, yet subtle, like the chill of winter air slipping through a crack. And through the tension, our connection deepened. I noticed the smallest gestures, his hand finding mine instinctively, the calm steadiness in his eyes, and the quiet strength in his voice. Love endured even when danger pressed close. Evenings became a delicate sanctuary. We would sit on the balcony, the city lights flickering below, and share our thoughts, our fears, and our small victories. The mundane moments, the folding of laundry, arranging the books, a quiet meal together, felt sacred. The richness of life revealed itself not in luxury but in presence, in trust, and in the quiet acts of care we offered each other daily. And then, one night, returning from a discreet meeting to secure more evidence, a shadow lingered at the street corner. Ethan's hand tightened around mine, eyes scanning the darkness with a practiced vigilance. "We can't linger here," he whispered, calm yet tense. My grip tightened in response, fear and certainty swirling together. Together, we stepped forward into the cold night, heart steady, aware of the unknown pressing around us. The city hummed its indifferent, unyielding song, yet inside that fragile warmth of hand in hand, I understood something essential. Love is not the absence of danger. It is the courage to face it, together, without letting go. It is the willingness to protect, to endure, and to fight even when the world seems bent on tearing you apart. And in that quiet, cold night, I felt the truth settle deep within me. Love, real love, always finds a way. The chill of the night pressed against my face as Ethan and I moved carefully through the dimly lit streets, our footsteps soft against the concrete. Every shadow seemed to hold a question, every flicker of movement a possible threat. My hand remained in his, our fingers intertwined as though that simple connection could shield us from the uncertainty surrounding us. He glanced at me briefly, a quiet reassurance in his eyes, and I felt the familiar warmth of safety even amidst the tension. We reached a small hidden cafe on the edge of the district, one that few people noticed, and Ethan led me inside. The scent of coffee and baked bread, rich and comforting, enveloped us. It was a temporary haven, a momentary pause where the chaos of the outside world could not reach. We sat in a corner booth, faces dimly lit by a single hanging bulb, and for the first time in days, I felt a small measure of peace. Ethan leaned back, letting out a slow breath. "I never wanted you to see this side of my life," he said quietly, his voice steady yet heavy with emotion. "I wanted to protect you from everything. Fear, betrayal, danger, but hiding it from you, it felt like I was tearing myself apart." His gaze met mine, vulnerable and sincere, and my chest tightened with empathy and understanding. I reached across the table, covering his hand with mine. "You've protected me," I whispered, voice trembling. But love, real love doesn't live in hiding. It lives in truth, even when it hurts. Ethan's eyes glistened, and for a moment, the world outside the cafe faded entirely. In that shared silence, I realized something profound. No betrayal, no danger, no shadow of the eye. Past could sever the bond that had grown stronger through every trial. The days following our reunion were quieter than I could have imagined, yet filled with a sense of purpose I had never known. The modest apartment we had chosen as our sanctuary seemed almost impossibly still compared to the grandeur of the life Ethan had left behind. But in that stillness, I began to notice details I had overlooked before. The faint scent of his cologne lingering in the air, the soft light reflecting off the worn kitchen table, the way his eyes caught the sunlight in a way that made my chest tighten with affection. These small observations, ordinary as they were, became extraordinary reminders of what truly mattered: presence, love, and shared life. Each morning, Ethan brewed coffee with careful attention, the rich aroma curling around us as we sat together in comfortable silence. I watched him, tracing the lines of his face with my eyes, noticing the faint furrow in his brow that revealed the nights he had spent planning and worrying, and the gentle curve of his lips that hinted at hope despite everything. Breakfasts became a quiet ritual, each sip of coffee and bite of toast a shared experience that grounded us, a daily affirmation that life could be rebuilt piece by piece. Folding laundry, once mundane, became a choreography of connection, our hands brushing as we passed shirts back and forth, laughter slipping quietly between us, music in the hum of domestic rhythm. Even as we embraced these routines, the shadows of the outside world lingered. Strange cars occasionally paused near our building, unfamiliar faces appeared where none should have been, and the faint hum of footsteps in the alley reminded us that danger was never far behind. Yet the fear that once consumed me had transformed. It was no longer a chain that held me down. It had become a gentle caution, a reminder to treasure every moment of safety and love. Ethan's hand in mine offered reassurance that transcended words, and together, we navigated the city with care, weaving through streets as if our footsteps could claim our space in a world that had once threatened to take everything from us. One evening, after reviewing the final evidence of Michael Carter's betrayal, we stepped outside to walk along the river. The air was crisp, carrying the subtle scent of rain from earlier in the day. Streetlights glimmered across the water, creating reflections that danced and flickered with the city's pulse. Ethan spoke softly, recounting the weeks he had spent alone, the calculated steps he had taken to shield me from danger, and the sacrifices he had made without asking for my understanding. I listened, chest tightening with empathy and gratitude, realizing that the depth of his love had been measured not in words, but in the weight of his actions. "You don't have to protect me from life," I whispered, squeezing his hand. "I am here, always. We face it together." Ethan's eyes glistened, and for a fleeting moment, the city's hum fell away, leaving only the warmth of our shared presence. I understood then that courage was not in grand gestures, but in quiet acts of steadfast devotion, in standing by one another when the world seemed determined to pull us apart. Weeks passed, blending ordinary moments with extraordinary relief. The apartment, stripped of luxury, became a haven of simplicity and warmth. Each morning's sunlight painted the walls with soft gold, and we found joy in routines we had once taken for granted. Simple meals, laughter during shared chores, the gentle hum of music while folding laundry, all of it became sacred acts, a meditation in motion. Outside, the city roared, indifferent to our small triumphs. Yet inside, every glance, every touch, and every shared word reinforced our connection. Ethan and I discovered the beauty of noticing life in ways we had forgotten. Children chasing pigeons in the park, The subtle aromas of street food vendors and the melodies of street performers all became threads in a tapestry that reminded us life was abundant even in its ordinary moments. Fear and betrayal no longer overshadowed our days. Instead, they highlighted the fragility and preciousness of each second. We were learning, slowly, that life's richness was measured not by possession but by presence, not by wealth but by the depth of shared love. Evenings became sacred, a time for reflection and quiet joy. On the balcony, overlooking the city lights flickering below, we would speak of our days, our dreams, and even our minor frustrations with honesty and patience. These moments, simple yet profound, were the foundation of our healing. Love, I realized, was not about avoiding danger or erasing the past. It was about being fully present, offering patience, empathy, and kindness even when fear threatened to intrude. Every shared glance and gentle touch became a testament to resilience, a daily promise that we would face life together, come what may. The nights were quiet, yet they carried a weight of meaning I had never experienced before. The soft hum of the city below became a lullaby, a reminder that life went on in its chaotic rhythm. But within our small sanctuary, time seemed to slow. Ethan and I would sit side by side, sometimes speaking, sometimes in comfortable silence, our fingers intertwined, hearts synchronized without words. I noticed how he would occasionally brush a strand of hair from my face, the gentlest gesture, yet it carried the weight of all the moments he had sacrificed, all the dangers he had silently endured for my safety. Walking through our neighborhood on those nights, the city seemed transformed. The streetlights cast elongated shadows, and every corner seemed to hold a story waiting to be noticed. We learned to find beauty in these fleeting details. The laughter of children echoing from an empty playground, the warmth of a neighbor greeting us as we passed, and the agiswainseberin subtle rhythm of life continuing despite the storms we had weathered. Each moment reminded us that while the past had been tumultuous, the present was ours to shape, and the future was a canvas we could paint together with care, trust, and love. I found myself reflecting often on what had truly changed. It wasn't just the absence of danger or the presence of safety. It was the way we had begun to notice each other fully, to appreciate every nuance and expression, every slight change in tone, and every gesture that spoke volumes without a single word. We had learned to communicate in ways that transcended speech, to support each other without grand declarations, and to love quietly but deeply. The simplicity of our routines became a meditation, a continuous act of honoring the bond we had fought so fiercely to preserve. Even when shadows lingered at the edges of our world, when echoes of betrayal and loss whispered through our thoughts, they no longer held dominion over us. Instead, they became reminders of strength, resilience, and the impermanence of hardship. Each challenge we faced reinforced the truth that love is not fragile. It is forged in the fire of adversity, nurtured through patience, and sustained by mutual care. I saw it in Ethan's eyes, calm yet resolute, and felt it in the quiet rhythm of our life, steady and unshakable despite the echoes of the past. And as I sat beside him on that balcony one night, the city lights shimmering like a constellation beneath us, I realized that survival was not merely escaping danger. Survival was embracing life fully, with all its uncertainties, its fleeting joys, and its quiet heartbreaks. It was understanding that love, patience, and empathy are not just virtues, they are lifelines that guide us through the storm. From our journey, one lesson emerges clearly: cherish the ordinary moments, value presence over possession, and recognize that love is not measured by comfort or status, but by courage, patience, and the willingness to stand together in every trial. Life will test you, betrayal may hurt, and fear may shadow your days, but with trust and care, love endures. To you, dear listener, I offer my deepest gratitude. Thank you for sharing this journey with us, for opening your heart to our story, and for letting these moments touch your own. Your presence, empathy, and willingness to walk alongside our experiences mean more than words can express. May you find strength in connection, peace in quiet moments, and courage in love. The beauty of life lies in these small, tender acts, and I hope you carry this reminder with you every day.